So this is part of my ongoing series of my quest for tone on my Rickenbacker 4001 bass. It's a 1975, it's vintage, and I've already gone through the pickup change. I've gone with the reissue toaster and horseshoe vintage voiced pickups. It sounds more like a 60s Rickenbacker now than a 70s. I still have the high gains stored away somewhere. And now I've changed the strings from roundwounds to flatwounds. So that's going to be my test today, to test how flatwounds sound on this bass. I think I've never really tried flatwounds on this bass in the 30 years I've got it. When I was younger, I would buy the blue steel strings and I would boil them every couple weeks to get like the freshest, most metallic sound. But I've grown out of that. I like a more fundamental thumpy sound now. And I think that the flatwounds might actually quench my thirst. So what I've got on right now are the Optima RB Flatwounds. They are actually like quite expensive, like almost $100 Canadian, and with these pickups that are more acoustically like voiced, it sounds like an upright on steroids sort of. And I quite like the sound, except there's just one thing about this set of strings. I hope it's the strings and not the bass, and we'll get to that. It's that the E string sounds a bit dead compared to the other strings. Like, I'm super excited to play on the A, D, and G. And when I get on the E string, I'm sort of disappointed. And it sounds a bit dead. I did call the Optima representative in Quebec, and he sent me a replacement string, so we'll see if it's the actual string. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap this dead sounding E for the new one that I got and see if there's an actual difference. So I'll do a sound test to see if there's a clear comparative improvement. All right, new string installed, and to be quite honest, I didn't have much faith in the process. I thought that it was probably too floppy or whatever, that type of string wasn't good for the bass, but after installing the new string, just acoustically, I could already tell that it was actually fine. I don't know, it sounded way better. It has the same bite and growl now on both strings. So it was actually a dead string, and I could tell also the intonation was a bit wrong with the deader string. Some notes felt wobbly, and I even confirmed it with just looking at the pitch of the notes. Sometimes it would drift a bit. So I'll do like now the final test. I'll play the same thing, and I think it's pretty clear, but let's confirm. So definitely confirmed, this string sounds alive. It has a growl, it has bite, there's continuity. It even has more bite right now than the other strings, and it's probably because it's brand new, and it's probably going to equalize to the other strings, but there is continuity. sounds like the Rickenbacker now. It's not like a dead string. So thank you a lot, Jean-Philippe from Optima. I mean, amazing service. Sent it to me right away. I'll send him back the dead string, and pretty cool. I mean, it does happen. They're made by hand in Germany, and they sound quite good, honestly, compared to other Flatwounds. In my quest to know if it was like a good string or not, I did have like a roto sound Flatwound that I just slapped on to see is it the bass that's like deadening the string, and the roto sound was not sounding dead, but it sounded, well, crap compared to these strings. These strings have some bite and some thump. I think this set, the RB Flatwounds, they're designed essentially to be the closest thing to what a Rickenbacker 4001 would have come with stock in the 1960s. So this is probably what Paul McCartney played on with, I mean. So let's quest for tone. So I'm now going to do the full comparison with the actual Roundwounds with the exact same thing. I'm going to play through the example that I made thingy, and then I'm going to do the same song that I did, because it's the only song that I have Roundwounds with the new pickups. So let's do it. Now I'm going to be doing this song, and with the song I have turned on the stem at the exact same setting I did for the Roundwounds. Like 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. It's a slight thing. I mean, without, with, it's barely perceptible, but there's a bit of liveliness added to the tone. And I'm going to record with the exact same chain, exact same settings, and it's going to be the exact same mix as I'm going to pass through the exact same chain. So here is the chain. It's a bit different than just going full DI. So I have the Ampeg SVT with the ultra high on. There's a lot of treble and a lot of mid-range, and I guess a lot of bass too. And I'm using the 115 ribbon cab, which to me sounds like more like, I don't know, I like it better. It's more bassy, it's less like in your face. I never liked 10 inches, like 10 inches on a bass cab. It always bugged me. Even live in the same room, I don't know, it fatigued me to play bass through that. I prefer one big 15-inch, and I'm going to the J37 tape saturation. It's on the bass DI preset. I remove all noise, though I don't like artificial noise. We don't need that. We just need the saturation, not the noise. And going through the 1176 compressor. So it's a bit more punchy and trebly than the actual just DI sound. So it's going to make a contrast from the other test. Still going with both pickups. I know some people prefer just using the toaster neck pickup. It's subtle though, like the added like horseshoe, but it does add a little bit of bite, and I quite like that. And anyways, it's going to mirror like the exact bass part I have here, which I'm using actually like both pickups, and I'm picking here, resting my hand on the horseshoe and picking sort of over the toaster. So I'm replicating that with the Flatwounds. All right, as a little bonus, what I did find out over the last couple of weeks playing with those strings is it's such a different instrument that I would not mix it the same, and also I would probably EQ it a bit more, like maybe a lot more. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to add to the comparison what I would actually do if this was like the first time I recorded bass on this song, and I'm going to crank up the pull tech. Actually, I'm going from 3 to 10 on the 1K, and I'm going from 3 to 10 on the 3K, and I'm going from 3 to 10 actually on the attenuation of the high frequencies. And yeah, I might even boost a little bit of the bass and scoop it up more here. And now it's less subtle, so without. With. So it punches through a lot more, and that's what I would do with this actual bass, because it has less of those overtones, so I'm cranking them up, but they sound quite good. It's like a ribbon mic. It captures less loud, all the high frequencies, but it does capture them, and when you boost them up, they sound quite smooth and nice. So I'm going to record a take now with this cranked up thing, and I'm going to mix it differently too. The old mix is sort of optimized for the round wounds, and the new mix is going to be optimized for the flat wounds, so you can hear clearly what flat wound would sound like in this particular song. So in the fully like newly mixed version, I'm adding this like vintage tube distortion plugin to give the bass a bit more bite. So this song went through a lot of iterations of bass parts. First I had the high gains with the round wounds, and then the new reissue vintage pickups with the round wound, and now I'm trying like the flat wounds with the reissue pickups. Also tried the jazz bass at some point, and through it all, essentially the first take of the Rickenbacker with the high gains and the round wounds always won out. It was my choice for the final version of the song until now. Essentially the flat wounds with the vintage reissue pickups and the cranked stam and the extra little like red Optor distortion is my favorite one. It's the new winner. It's the new final take that I'm going to use in the final version of the song. I could show you first off the difference between just the flat wounds without cranking up the stuff and the flat wounds with the stuff cranked. Just look at this comparison. It's a bit night and day. And now here's the original version with the high gain pickups and the round wounds with the vocals this time, so that we could really tell what's happening in the mix.
Dans
And now here's the version with the new Flatwounds and the tweaked mix. What I find really interesting is that the Flatwounds have bite, because I could crank up that bite, but it leaves a lot more space for the guitars and the vocals. It's essentially like the best of both worlds. I get the bite and the grit of the Rickenbacker, but without it overshadowing everything else in the mix, which sort of tended to happen with the Roundwounds. This is just to demonstrate essentially what's going on here. Is you see like the red one is the Roundwounds and the blue curve is the Flatwounds. So see, they're getting all the same notes, all the same like harmonics are there, all the information is there. It just sounds radically different. The Roundwounds have a very metallic sound and the Flatwounds have a more gonky, woody sound, which is interesting, but they both have that bite at 1K, at 3K, and like over 5K. There's pretty much nothing for both. They both don't do anything over 5K, and they both have something at 3, at 1, at 500, and they both have like a big bassy fundamental around here. So it's not like the Flatwounds don't produce anything over like the fundamental harmonic. They do have all that information, and you could mold it and it sounds different, and that wooden character is really interesting. And I even like replaced the bass part of one of my earlier songs too. Let's go back there and check that out. I had a song that I had done completely, all the instruments, and it was done with the bass with the Roundwounds. But after trying to do the Flatwound experiment that I just did with Le Temps des Loups, the one we just heard, I decided to just for the hell of it, just try it out on that other song, and I ended up wanting to pretty much redo all the bass parts of that song with the Flatwounds because it sat way better in the mix. So here's the examples. Here's the original just Roundwound and drums. Now here's the Flatwound and drums. Now here's the roundwounds with the other instruments. Now the flatwounds with all the other instruments. And that song had not been finished completely. There was a coda that needed to be done, and there was no bass yet. It was just like a piano guide track. So the bass that I laid down was the flatwound straight up. Here's what they sound like, just to give you like more examples of a Rickenbacker with flatwounds. Here's what it sounds like, just the drums and the bass. Now here's the drum, bass, and everything essentially, including the vocals, like in context, just so that you get a sense of how that Rickenbacker sits in the mix. So again, I think that it pokes through the mix enough so that you like feel its presence, but it doesn't overshadow the vocals or the other instruments. Really cool. And finally, I had another song that was called Frustré Noyé, the one for my first vlog. There was a coda in that one. I didn't redo all the basses because the bass in the verses and the choruses, it was fine with the roundwounds. It fits the song, the roundwound sound. But in the coda, I decided why not like just go with the flatwounds. And this is what it gave. And now like all the instruments together. So overall, really satisfied with the sound of the Rickenbacker with those vintage reissue pickups and flatwounds. It's a whole new instrument, but it still has that Rickenbacker growl and bite somehow. I mean, I recognize the bass when I was comparing like the roundwounds and the flatwounds takes on the same song with the same part. You recognize the same bass, because if I played it with the jazz bass, you clearly see it's another bass. But anyways, I encourage you to try it on your Rickenbacker. Like it sounds really good. All right, now it's time for the album dashboard. I did advance some stuff. It's not as straightforward as other weeks where I was recording like basic tracks and a bunch of stuff. But I did do some polish and record some bass tracks and other instruments as well. For those new here, essentially I have this dashboard to help focus my energies into finishing this album before my birthday in 2026. It used to be next year, but now it's this year. It's in August, so there's 158 days left, and I'm gonna update the songs that were done. So Frustré Noyé, essentially I did all the instruments for that one. I showed you a piece of the coda, like with the bass and the other instruments, and everything else has been pretty much finished. I'm gonna blast this up to, well, I guess 100% at this point. Let's stop being conservative. Everything's been in. Everything else could be inside the polish part. And I did do some polish, as in I tweaked certain things and did stuff that I did not necessarily planned. That's what polish is essentially. Is like you listen, you see opportunities. Oh, I could add like a little sprinkle of like synth here, or I'm gonna tweak that part around here, or like a new delay or to enhance a certain part. So I'm gonna bump up the polish to 50%. The vocal still needs to be done. I think I'll do that next week, and I'm gonna bust up the mix to 50% since the vocal's not done yet. But I did do, well, let's go to 60% because I did all the other instruments. Then Le Temps des Loups. The other times I was not doing anything on it. Now actually, since the new flatwound bass part made it into the final mix, I consider that polish. It's been polished, so it's bump polished to 75% because I did some other little tweaks here and there, and I did do some mixing here and there, so it's not the same mix as like a bunch of weeks ago. And the other song was Funambule. Showed you a bit of the coda and some of the song that I did replace the bass and up the mix. So replacing the bass on the other, like on the verse and chorus of the song, I'm gonna put about 30% of polish because it's not just the bass. I did other stuff. Mix, I'm gonna bump it up to 75% because essentially it's just the vocals that are left. And there's some vocals that I showed that were done on the coda, so some vocals were done. I'm just missing some other vocals that I'm gonna have to do next week. And instrument-wise, this one also, I did completely finish the coda and everything. There was a lot of placeholders or like just guide tracks. Now I fleshed everything out. You heard pieces of it, so I'm gonna blast it to 100%. And mix wise, okay, that's all good. So good. I mean, I gained 2.3%, and I have a bunch of vocal sessions that I want to do soon to really like finish off of a bunch of those tracks that need vocals, like 30 secondes, Temps des loups, Funambule, and Frustré Noyé. I want to, and Vestige. There's a lot of vocals, and that's going to be a subject of probably the next video. All right, nice. Oh, also, if I've had this question posed in the comments, this is a custom dashboard, but it's available on GitHub for free. You could just download it and use it however you want. The whole code is like open source and free. Like, have at it. The link is in the description. All right, so this is pretty conclusive. It's quite a different tone, but I really like it. I'm gonna keep them on this bass for a while. I'm gonna use them like this. I really dig the sound, and it offers new possibilities. The other thing that I guess people do mention, but that I didn't take into account, is the comfort factor. Playing on flatwounds is so much more comfortable. I've been playing bass for like 2 hours now, and my fingers don't hurt, so that's a big plus. And like I said, I didn't have much faith that the string would actually not sound dead. For some reason, it was such a low percentage of dead strings that I was like, oh, it's probably going to sound bad even if it's new. That's the way it sounds. So what I did is I got a replacement set of pyramid flatwounds, which I'm not going to install now because I quite like these and I don't want to like swap them in and out and sort of kill the tone. So this is going to be for a future thing. I'm going to try them out at some point. They're a bit of a heavier gauge and they're a different construction, and they're also sort of vintage sounding, so I'm going to try those. And at the same time that I try those, I'm probably going to shoot them out against these Roto Sound flatwounds. So keep subscribe and follow this channel, because I'm going to do this shootout at some point, and I'm going to essentially like shoot them out against the Optimas, which I have right now, like the sound test of them, and we'll see. There's not a lot of sound tests of like comparison of these flatwound strings on the internet, on YouTube, so I'm adding to the lot, and on a Rickenbacker even less, because people tend to like the roundwounds, and they have like super low action and very busy, like buzzy type of tone. I like my action pretty high. I really dislike fret buzz, like that zzz sound that's all over the neck. So this to me sounds like an upright on steroids. Quite enough. I mean, it's so playable, and the gauge is a bit smaller than the usual stuff that I go for, especially the big string. That's why I didn't have much faith, because it's 100. I usually go for 105, so I thought the 100 was too flabby, but sounds really good. I'm quite happy with the new pickups and the new strings. It's quite a new instrument. Well, next up is I want the jazz bass now to become the clanky, bitey roundwound monster that was covered sort of by the Rickenbacker with the high gains and the roundwounds. So the Rickenbacker now is like a whole other instrument. So the jazz bass is going to fill in that gap, and I'm going to start like tweaking it. I want some less scooped strings, which these are Fender, so I'm going to try some other strings on the jazz bass, and I'm also going to replace the pickups. I got some Fralin pickups replacements. They're vintage voiced, and they have a plus 5% overwine, which is going to give them a bit of a warmer, more low mid-range tone. So I'm going to do a shootout with those pickups as well against the stock Squier Fender pickups, and I'm going to try to find like a better set of strings to sound less scooped, maybe pyramids, maybe roto sounds. There's going to be some shootouts. I might have to swap the bridge because certain strings, like the B string, I might go for a heavier gauge than 130, and I think this bridge can't take more girth. The teenage mind never dies. All right, see you in the next one.